Hello and welcome to Mind Your Mind podcast. Here in Mind Your Mind podcast, we talk about life, mind, universe, everything and nothing at all. And we even talked about NASCAR last week. My name is Ozan and here is Henna Malik. Hey Henna, how are you doing today?
Hey everyone, and hi Ozan. Doing very well, and perhaps this is going to be the final episode for this season.
You scared everyone out. It's just the final of the season, not like overall.
Yeah, final episode for the season. Yeah,
Okay.
I meant that. Yes, but and we saved the best for the last, actually.
Best for the last. So actually today's topic will be interesting because usually like we don't know how each other stand before the episodes about a certain topic, but we already know we have kind of different opinions about this one. So I think it's going to be more like a debate rather than just smooth talking. It's about multitasking or multitasking or multitasking. I think depends on wherever you are in the world. I'm a fan. She's not. So it's going to be fun.
Right, and it's going to be a clash. So
Clash.
be prepared.
Yes, yes. Tell me your side of things because I know I think it's also in your book. So I talked about multitasking.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Well, I have written a book about doing nothing. How do you think I would have advocated multitasking in it? So,
Fair question.
multitasking, in my opinion, doesn't really exist when it comes to humans. If you're talking about machines, it's another thing. Like, of course, we are not gadgets. We are not iPhones who can, tell you the weather and act as a camera and serve as a GPS all in one go. I think human beings have a brain which works on one task at a time, and that's how we produce quality in our work. In my opinion, when we try to do two or more tasks simultaneously, we are not actually doing them simultaneously. We are just fooling ourselves by switching between them simultaneously, and that switching leads to the degradation of quality.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Why do you think switching reduces the quality?
Because your brain is not being able to focus on one thing for a particular period of time. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if I'm attending a meeting at work and I'm simultaneously answering an email, I am not paying attention to that meeting while I am writing an email. What I'm doing is I'm making a decision first, whether this is important or this is important, and then acting on that decision. Like, for example, my mind says that, answer this email, it's more important. Now I focus my attention for a brief second on thinking what to write here. I type here, and I'm missing out on whatever has been said in that very moment. Then I go back and listen to the meeting. I'm putting my attention on the meeting, and the email is not being typed on its own. So there's a switch which is, it's happening really fast, rapid switching of multiple tasks, which obviously hampers the the mind and of course the work which is being done.
Okay, when you were talking about that you described me in everyday situation, I think because normally how I work is that I have three screens. I'm usually in the meeting in one, in the mail in the other, and possibly I'm doing something else, either Excel is open or some CAD model or whatever it is. And I constantly switch in between.
Hmm.
And I see your points that that quality is less because if you read any of my emails, you will not understand anything because it's full of errors. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to understand or keep track because I start writing something and change my attention, and when I get back, I'm in somewhere else. So maybe I just don't finish it in the way that I thought I would finish before I change my attention to the meeting. It is reduced quality for sure.
Hmm.
Um, in in those cases, I just feel like it's still, even though the quality is less, it's still more effective than focusing 100% on something that you think is not a very valuable using of your time. Okay, I'm talking
Okay.
about the meetings, which are like, yeah, you're supposed to get one, two things out of it, but you're not
Yeah.
supposed to like listen all of it because 90% is just not really related
Yeah.
to you. Just those kind
Yeah.
of situations. I try to take advantage of these moments and I use that. And I think, yeah, quality is less, but on the other hand, I can do a lot more in a shortened amount of time. I think it's a question of, is it something you can do while multitasking? If it's crucial, of course,
Hmm.
if it's crucial that I have to send an important mail to a supplier or to customer or something like that, I don't do that because I know that I don't want to make mistakes there.
I agree to what you said. And I think all of us as humans tend to approach this situation in a similar way. Just as you said, your email would be full of errors, and you will have to spend another couple of minutes or maybe more on proofreading it, which otherwise, in if you would have only written concentrated on writing that email, you wouldn't have had to spend that extra time.
I don't even proofread. Probably it's the reader who's going like, huh? No, that's how I
Well
imagine.
then,
Like, I hope this
well
email
then,
finds you well and blah blah blah. Huh? Yeah.
okay, but then we are talking about doing quality tasks in one go. We are not talking about sacrificing on the quality. So if that is something that you're ready to do, and then it's fine. But in that moment, you're creating an illusion that you are being more productive by doing two things in the same period of time.
Mhm.
I'll call it an illusion, but because it actually is, this is a illusion of productivity that you're creating, because your productivity anyway is not up to the mark in both the things. You're not fully there, you're not fully here. You're somewhere in between, struggling to decide which one is worth your attention. So in this, like, there's this the science behind it. Actually, I want to go into that. There's this bottleneck effect which scientists have coined, and it says that when our focus on a task is interrupted by the need to attend to another task at the same time, blood literally rushes to another part of the brain to make a decision on what task to perform next, before
Mhm.
rushing back to actually performing that task. And that task again will be interrupted again shortly.
Uh-huh.
So basically, when we are sending emails during a meeting, we are actually doing three things poorly. One, emailing, the other is engaging in the meeting, and the third thing is, of course, deciding whether we should be emailing or engaging in the meeting. All three things are
Ah,
suffering.
bottleneck
So,
effect. Okay.
yes, it's called response selection bottleneck.
Response selection bottleneck. That actually I haven't thought about before. I mean, like, because like it usually happens so quickly, but obviously it makes sense.
And I completely understand the place you are coming from, Ozan, because this is an urgency driven world. Uh, there is a temptation to do many things in one time, because we as humans are aware that our time on this earth is limited. This life is limited. We all know this. And there's an urgency to do so many things. This creates a temptation for us to multitask. This is what makes multitasking so attractive. We want to accomplish so many things in so little time. So, of course, we try our best, switch between things rapidly so that we get rewarded rapidly. It gives a hit on our dopamine, wherein we feel that we are accomplishing more in less time, and we feel good about it. But actually, that accomplishment, we are getting so used to this dopamine release that every moment we are creating a distraction. Basically, a, a distraction from your meeting is your email, and then the distraction from your email is your meeting.
And then there's
So,
usually a third one or a fourth one that's going on at the same time.
yeah. And what happens when you continuously create distractions for yourself? The opposite of distraction is paying attention. You are limiting your attention span. You're training your mind to pay attention for less period of time on one thing. And this is what is the whole problem today. Less
Mhm.
attention span, reduced attention span, which we keep talking about.
It is kind of addicting as well, this reduced attention span. But that's how I feel. I think there are phases which I go
Hmm.
through. Possibly people also feel the same. That's what my assumption is. In some phases, you are really in the doing mood, and you want to accomplish so much. You try to be efficient, and you're doing that and that and then you're multitasking. And there are phases which you slow down and you realize you don't use 100% of your capacity sometimes. And in those intense phases, well, I do feel the dopamine rush during the day, because in the end of those days I
Hmm.
feel that I think it could explain, the bottleneck effect could explain basically where I'm spending the energy. Yes, I'm spending more energy because I'm switching between the things.
Right.
Uh, but also in those times, I feel like more I do it, less I have patience for anything. It's like a positive feedback system. The less time I give to myself to do something, less I will be able to keep my focus. And then it's just feeding each other. And then your attention span is going less and less and less. And then I find myself in a place where I like, even when I watch something, I need to have my phone with me because I feel like
Yes,
nothing is happening. I need some more stimulation. Now my brain needs more stimulation.
exactly. That's exactly what I was talking about, the always on thing. You need to be always on. There's never a time in a day when you will, because you're so habituated to handling so many things in one go, that now your mind needs more. Like, if there's one thing you are completely paying attention to, you will find a distraction. You will want to do another thing. Maybe it's just your phone, and that's how we get addicted to our devices.
Yeah.
Because
And then you get more and more addicted to it, and you need more time, and then you find yourself like you're biking and then you're also on the phone sometimes. I did that once, then I
yes.
stopped myself. Uh,
Now, in the example that you said, that attending a meeting which is not that crucial, not a very critical meeting, and then maybe answering an email with it. Uh, if this happens to be a challenging task, an important, critical task, like a meeting which is important, and still you are just, for example, you are just here to listen, and there's no input which is needed from you, but it is very important for you to listen to everything that is being said. Do you think you will be able to pay attention completely in that meeting?
no,
Right.
no.
Exactly. You won't be able to, because you're so habituated to distracting yourself from tasks, be it a casual task or be it a challenging. crucial, critical task. A task is a task in your mind. And you will distract yourself by scribbling, doodling, looking at your phone. You know that you are not being uh, loyal to the meeting, but again, you're helpless because your mind is telling you that you need something. You're getting fidgety.
Hmm.
So because you have trained it that way, that is the problem. So I think distracting yourself from anything by doing something which is less demanding, like for example, you while you are doing a challenging task, you might just switch on a podcast and start listening to it. We try to make it more bearable. We try to make the challenging task a little more bearable by doing something lighter on the other side.
Hmm.
But what we actually end up doing is that we are not even enjoying the podcast. So the whole, the what you call the pleasure of the two things is diluted.
I mean, like when I listen to podcasts, I do like I wash dishes or things like that.
Yeah, something
If
that
I'm
doesn't require your mental focus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if something requires my mental focus, I go for music.
Hmm.
I think that increases my performance in a level.
Yes, and that actually reminds me of something I do. I listen to podcasts or music while I'm taking a walk because walking doesn't require a lot of attention. There's no mental work
Depending on
there.
where you walk, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, if you're in the traffic, of course not. But if you're just going around in a park or a garden, you can you can immerse yourself into a podcast or some good music and just do that autopilot mode.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
people who are used to driving, listening to music. Listening to music is not really considered a distraction, but being on your phone while you are on the wheel is definitely a distraction. And that, of course, the traffic police agrees to it.
Yeah,
So if you are on your phone and you are driving, you will be fine. You'll have a fine.
yeah.
There are certain things that there's a category of things you need to prioritize things and uh, arrange them in categories, sort them out in categories. Like this involves my sensory attention. This involves my mental attention. This involves just physical, uh, something that I'm used to doing every day, I'm habituated of. So for like taking a walk or driving, something that I do every day, so I won't be distracted by it because this is something that I can do on autopilot. So if we are aware of those things, that the things that we can manage without even paying attention, and then you do something with that, it's a different thing. I won't consider it much of a multitasking. But handling two or more things at your workplace together just to meet the deadline, that is not the right approach, in my opinion.
I agree with you on this one. I have no thing to bring
Okay.
against this,
Okay.
apart from the fact that, yeah, I think the capitalism or the society really pushes people to be in that state. I think that's to do things before someone makes a problem out of it. Unfortunately, this has become normal. What I feel like, or this is a very very normal thing to be in a meeting and also do the other stuff on the other side, which is very disturbing when you think about it. Because like I don't know, it's like you meet a friend and then you're talking to them and then they're on their phone. Like how frustrating it is.
Hmm.
I will not want to meet that person. We have somehow took all these weird acts made it completely normal to do it in professional environments. Uh, but I see how deteriorating it is to the health because it is reducing the attention span. It is increasing this urge for overstimulation uh, until you stop it somehow. And I think the stopping it is the hard part, where you resist the urge to stimulate yourself. You basically, well, do nothing or just do one thing at a time. Doing one thing at a time is as difficult as doing nothing. It's if you're in that space. Mm.
Yeah, because we are so used to doing multiple things nowadays. We have a portable internet system which, wherever we go, it follows.
Yeah,
And there's no escape from it. Like surviving one day without your phone is a task. It's a havoc of a task because it's like we have forgotten how to do that. We
yeah.
are
I mean,
so
we get
used
nervous
to.
when the phone is not around, right? Like when it's away, it's charging or something. You feel like something is lacking. It's become a part of
Yeah,
your body or something.
yeah, it's the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like, something important is coming is, I'm missing out on so many things happening in the world. Like my family must be messaging me, people must be trying to reach to me by through calls, and there would be so much happening on social media. I'm missing out on so many things. Where's my phone?
Yeah.
Now, this is what we have become, but through our own actions. It's not something that we were always, like, we have not never always have been like this. We can't say this, like, humans are not supposed to be that way. Distraction actually was, if we go back to our evolution, distraction was something that happened once in a while over a period of time when we were, we used to live in caves, and suddenly there was a noise in the bush. You were completely in your own world, and suddenly there was some noise in the bush, and you got hit by, like, you immediately, it took your attention away from what you were doing, and
Mhm.
you wanted to see, like, if it was an animal or a tiger or something. That was distraction for us.
Kind of from survival instinct, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we always, like, our minds knew that whenever there is a distraction like that, we'll have to do a fight, and we have to come out of it as achievers, as somebody, as winners. And that's why this distraction has been so synonymous with a release of dopamine in our bodies, that, we are so trained that every distraction would lead to a reward.
And now we have the same mental reaction to a email.
Exactly. Now, because we want rewards, we are creating distractions. We want more and more rewards. With the craving is increasing.
But your reaction is kind of the same
Yeah.
to very different situations. It's interesting actually because yeah, it's really easy to overrate things in this state of mind, right? So it's like if you have a notification on your phone and you have the urge to look at it, it's really like
Mm.
looking outside your house, like what the hell is happening if you have a weird voice, like is it a threat or is it an opportunity, right? And
Yeah.
so many useless things are going on in the notifications or in the email or phones or whatever, and you have the same reaction to all of it because it can be anything. It can be
Can be any.
anything. Right now, if
It
your
can be an
phone
opportunity.
rings,
Yeah.
anything, it like if it makes a ding voice, like who is that? What's going on? Is it
Right.
a threat to my life? Like
Hmm.
that urge, I think, still exists in some
Right.
level, right?
That's how we have been wired. Like, every distraction is an opportunity, and every opportunity will give us a reward. And, who doesn't want rewards? Everybody wants rewards. So now that we don't have any more such distractions like the early man used to, we are creating false distractions in life. We are tempted to this, switching between multiple tasks, because now we also have an excuse now that life is limited, there are so many things to do. And the very thing is time management. Like we have fooled us, we have fooled ourselves by thinking that if we manage our time well, we will be able to accomplish it all.
Mhm.
Like,
Like,
time
that's the
management
point
is.
I wanted to come, because I'm curious about how you think of the time management, because now we talked about the multitasking, that you're doing two or more different things exactly at the same time. But there are really situations where like we have to do multiple things, but maybe not at the same time, but in one day you have to manage six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 142 different topics.
Of course, yes. If that is the case, and it is like, firstly, if this is a demand at our workplace, it is not a healthy demand. If we have to like do 200 things in a day, there's a serious problem with our work culture. And if if it is something that is a problem at your end, like you kept postponing the things till the end, and now everything has piled up and come to one day, then I would suggest that you have like certain time in a day to do those things. Like you can't devote all 24 hours to it. Like maybe 12 hours, 12 hours of work, extended work. And in those 12 hours, it's critical to prioritize what is important, what is less important. You remember the time management matrix we discussed? Urgent and important goes first, less urgent and important goes second, less urgent, less important goes in the end. Our ability to differentiate between important and unimportant things would also come when we focus on one thing at a time, not when we are switching between things. Don't you think? Like if you say that I'm doing one important and one unimportant thing together, it shouldn't do any harm. But the thing is, the important thing is suffering now because you
Mhm.
are clubbing it with an unimportant thing.
Maybe we'll have a debate here, because I mean, like, for me, okay, maybe not everybody in the same situation, but so I'm a project manager and I have like what, seven, eight projects or large topics which I'm handling right now,
Mhm.
and like all the projects need to go in parallel, so I need to manage them all. And of course, there is work to do in all of them when it comes to planning, when it comes to stakeholder management, change management, risk management, and firefighting, like a lot of firefighting which you cannot plan before.
Okay.
But I think in a level like everybody has to do those multiple project management at the same time, even in the personal lives. Like you have a lot of different things going on in your life and you need to manage them well. So you need that kind of multitasking. Um, and I think that's in a level that's healthy, because if you're working on something for a very long time, you really get lost in perception. And as we said in the productivity episode before, and also the art of doing nothing, basically when you do
Yeah.
nothing, your performance will increase when you get back to doing that, because you will come with a fresh perspective. Similarly, I think you're working on something and then you need an answer, you need to figure something out. But then you take a break and you go ahead to the completely other topic and you completely focus on the other one. And then another break, and then you come back to this one. You will again have a fresher perspective than if you were working on this one. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, of course. And that is not multitasking. That is a completely healthy way to go about things. So you are switching between the two things but handling one thing at a time with complete attention, that is perfectly okay.
Yeah, I
If
think that we agree on that, that it's the most
yes,
effective if you do one thing exactly on that moment.
right, right. This is, I think, this is not something that is worthy of debate, because in if it is, if some things are too demanding, we can't really help it. We have to adjust and manage our time according to that. And this is the right way of managing your time. This is the right way of managing your mind, uh, to handle multiple crucial things. Like if you are taking a break, that break need not be sleeping or taking a nap. It can be something like a passive activity which demands less attention, so that you can go back refreshed with a new perspective to the task which needs greater amount of attention. And that is absolutely okay. I think this is the requirement today, and we can't really debate on it. It's it is what it is.
Unavoidable, the
Unavoidable,
situation. Yeah.
totally. What I really would like to do it, like if I have to do something like this, I would perhaps categorize my work into different categories. Like if there are some things like emailing, I will do them all together, so that a part of my mind works in one go. The part of my mind which is responsible for answering emails is exhausted in one go, and I don't have to switch between replying and then
Do something else
conceptualizing
and then go
something.
back to this. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. To understand the gravity of the things, like how, which thing is important, which is not important, that sanity also comes when you are completely paying attention to what you are doing and not distracted by other things.
Yeah.
Managing multiple projects or strands of work, just divide them by type.
No, I like, I have a actually similar method when it comes to this one. We don't call it multitasking, but maybe managing better your tasks and what's going on. And I also, what I use, for example, in my personal life, like I also have too many different projects at the same time, such as podcast is one, or writing. Yeah, my second book is the other one. There I said
Mhm.
it. And this kind of things, like what I do is like I have kind of like an OPL, the open point list, which I track, and I always like state the current status. What is the status? What needs to be done in every single part of my life, and then I
Mhm.
mark them with some colors. And like if something needs to be done, it's urgent and crucial, I put it red. So when I look at it, I know that it's red, I need to do it very quickly. If something needs to be done, but it's not that urgent, I put it green. So whenever I have time, I sit down and I go through those green topics. I'm a very forgetful guy. I forget anything. But that's why I know this, and I need to remind myself what was the status before I left. So that's why I always write down what was the latest status, what happened, and then what will happen. Just short sentences or even half sentences. And then I go through that like sometimes 2 times or 3 times a day whenever I have
Mm.
time. And I don't forget because I know that I'm gonna check this thing, and whatever I need to remember will be there. Whatever I need to do will be marked right there.
Mhm.
So I think that kind of helps, and then you can visualize better. At least you see red, and of course this is something to do.
Exactly. I think you summed it all very well, and that really tells us that how organized you are as a person. Because this is the need, right? When you have so many things going on and all of them demand your attention, you need to allocate time, and this is the perfect example of time management that you gave. If you said that you're forgetful, so you tend to write down things so that you can come back and revisit them and understand where you left them off and pick up from there. So this is how it works, because we cannot load our minds anyway. They are already overloaded. Like,
Yeah.
how much can we remember? That's how we should be using the tools that we have been given. This is the right way of using those tools, and not just, distracting ourselves from the important things. Like when I was writing my book, this is how I used to do it. Like, writing was the only solution for me. The moment I had a thought, I needed something to put it down on. If I'm not putting it down,
It's gone
I'm going to forget it. I knew
forever.
it. I knew I'm going to, yeah, it's lost forever. And then when it'll come back with a guilt. Like, oh God, I did not include this.
Yeah,
This is not multitasking, by the way. This is time management.
time management.
So,
Okay.
right. So, and you're good at it. So, yay.
Have to be. I have to be. I mean, as a project manager, I have to be. But I think
Yeah.
what here I think it's very important to like what I've learned all my experience as a project manager for last 8 years is like you need to be as simple as possible about this one and
Hmm.
structure things as simply as possible because I think it can really get lost if you try to add more details or something like that. Like I think most of the people make that mistake that they want to make it so complex. Jira kind of complex, like so many things that you add and so on like that, and then you will
Hmm.
forget because like if you have so many things, they will get lost anyway because you will
Hmm.
get like very simply explain yourself what's going on in different projects or topics or of your life, of your work, and and then go through those multiple times a day.
And while you are dealing with the high attention demanding tasks, it's important to resist the urge to multitask. And
Yes.
that how we really do it is by when you are totally engrossed in something, the urge automatically dies. And that's where we actually achieve that, pure meditative state of doing things. It it that state itself is so rewarding that we forget about, looking for rewards here and there.
What is
Yeah.
your practical guide to then stop or reduce this multitasking for people like me who are like serial multitaskers?
What works for me is, yeah, like I just said, like if I'm dedicated to something, engrossed in a task completely, I do not remember anything else. Like I give it my 100%, and that makes me happy. That makes me so satisfied that there's no urge for me to to look at my phone, or maybe to, even answer a notification, or just, respond to a ping or anything. Everything else takes a backseat. To get into that state, you first need a little bit of training, and that training is, you need to identify first that, maybe jot down or just simply notice what are the things that you can multitask on, and what are the things that require singular attention. Perhaps if I am irked by that urge to check my phone, or do anything else, I would set up a little reward for myself. I give 15 minutes to this, and then I will treat myself to an ice cream. This is how you can, whatever works for you, you can do it. This is how I usually go about things. And if there's a
Yeah.
haunting deadline on something, and I don't like doing it, I've been dodging that task for a long time, and now, it's on my head and I have to submit it, that's a separate story. Then I will find, I don't know, then maybe I'll just
Delegate, ask help. I think like
del-
there are always more options.
delegate,
Reprioritize, delegate, ask help.
yeah, or maybe just, if nothing works out, then just give a low quality work.
Not everything requires high quality, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
not that we are suggesting it, but that's like last resort.
yeah. But I think for me, it was a useful conversation actually because it was kind of like a reflection of how bad I'm doing in multitasking right now,
Hmm.
and I see the impact of it, and I have seen before in my life as well. So I'm gonna take those steps and work on it. One more thing that comes into my mind that we discussed, that you brought it up, and also the attention span. I think that's one of the key points as well, because for me, I realize sometimes I start doing it because my attention span is getting smaller and smaller, so I need to seek something else. Uh,
Hmm.
so this is something which I realize I'm gonna start working on myself, and I think maybe it could be useful for other people as well. And what really increased my attention span is reading. And I think reading is like a solid formula for everyone, because the
Solid.
more you read, longer your attention span will be. But less you read, there are phases of your life you read less, and then you will have less patience to anything. But the more you read, stronger your focus really is in every part of your life, I think. And also like long podcasts like ours, longer
Mhm.
than all those small ones. Like some people don't go about 3 minutes YouTube videos, but some people go for the podcast. I think it's also increasing the attention span, what we are doing it. So I'm not advertising any of our books or podcasts, but I heard that it impacts, right? So
No, but I totally agree. And it's so true that, reading increases your attention span, and it makes you so much more patient, because it creates a world in your head, and you go about this world so freely. I really don't think there's any relaxing activity more than reading.
but it
It
has an
it gives you
enemy.
a. Mhm.
It has an enemy, and that is the
It is,
social media.
yeah.
That is the exact opposite of it. Like the more we do it, less our attention span gets. And the more urge we have for getting more dopamine, more stimulation, and so on like that, it's addictive. It is.
Totally. I am guilty of it already. And I know I need to uninstall certain apps from my phone, because it takes away a lot of time. Lately I have realized that, I have not been the person I was when I was writing my book, or before that. Totally, I agree with you, Ozan. And yeah, I think it was a very helpful discussion for me too. I got to research a lot to support this debate, my viewpoint on it.
To beat me in a debate, I have to
Oh,
prepare. Yeah.
yeah, it took a lot of research from my side, because I knew some things, but I really didn't know how to say them. I knew that multitasking is damaging our brain, but how is it exactly doing it? I had to read about it. Like, what is the exact impact of multitasking on our mind? That's something that, when I researched on, I realized that distraction in our life is such a big issue, and it's a self-created issue. That really is a great takeaway for, I think, both of us
Yeah, it is.
from today's episode.
As we said also last week in the resilience episode, like the growth is like this. So we are always guilty and we have phases. So I was in my phase of getting crazy on this dopamine rush and
Hmm.
multitasking. And this was a kind of like a wake up call for me, and
Hmm.
good to do some self reflection on my side. So I'm going to work on those things. I'm going to give you some feedback later on about that one, how that worked out. And maybe we can share our experiences later on in the next season.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward. Thank you for this amazing episode once again. And yeah, see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye bye. Take care.